So you got yourself a violin and you're excited to start playing, and then it sounds something like this. Now what? So in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to tune your violin. Hi, I'm Ariadna, and this is Mindful Strings, where I help you learn the violin on your own time and love your every practice. If you're ready to shave years of your violin learning journey and enjoy the beautiful music making process, let's get started. Let's first talk about the mechanism of tuning the violin. You've got the pegs up here, and then most likely you have fine tuners down here on your tailpiece. Some violins will have all four fine tuners, others will have just one on the E strings, and in some cases, if the violin came from a Russian player, you might have a fine tuner on the A and the E strings. We use the fine tuners to make more subtle changes in the strings. Turning them clockwise will make the pitch higher, and turning them counterclockwise will make the pitch lower. With the pegs, you have to be a little bit more delicate because, especially in the case with the E and A strings, it's pretty easy to pop the string because there's a lot of tension going through the string already. When you turn the peg away from you this way, so still going clockwise, you're going to be pulling the string even tighter, which will make the pitch go higher. Going slow, in tiny increments, and ideally pushing the peg in will get the peg to stay and get you to hopefully not snap your string. If you feel that the peg is sliding out, you can once again try pushing it in a little bit more. If that's not helping, then you can detune the peg altogether. Make sure you do this one at a time. Don't take all the strings off all at once. And put a little bit of chalk or candle wax on the surface of the peg, particularly in the spot where it's going to be touching the inside of the wood. This will prevent the peg from slipping. When humidity levels and temperatures change, sometimes the instruments are temperamental and the wood will shrink or expand, which will affect your pegs. So the tuner that we're going to be using is a simple Google tuner. What I put in was online violin tuner Google, and this is what popped up. So my violin's in tune at the moment, so let's go ahead and check. So as you see, according to this tuner, I'm actually a little bit sharp. I don't mind this sound. I tend to tune my violin a little bit sharper just because I think my ear is used to 441 hertz for the A string. So if you're a little bit higher but all the strings sound good together, producing perfect fifths, you are in good hands. Just to show you the process for this, I'm going to use the fine tuners to now adjust my strings. So there's the A. Seems to be happy with my D. Now it's happy with my G. So that sounds pretty good to me. These were very, very small adjustments that I had to make with my fine tuners. Now I'm going to purposefully detune the violin and do this again. This is very avant-garde. So let's go ahead and start with the A once more. So it's still an A, but it's quite low. Now my fine tuner will probably not go that far, so I am able to play the string and simultaneously adjust the peg. Once I get closer, I can then finish the job with the fine tuner. However, if you're just in the beginning stages and you are not yet ready to hold the violin, play the note, and adjust the peg, that's fine. What I recommend you do is you can sit down and keep the violin in your lap, or if you're standing, put it up against your stomach, and then you could use one hand to pluck the string, and then the other hand to adjust the peg. Now once again, the microphone is picking up the pitch of the pluck, although it's always better to use the bow. Try to produce a consistent tone at a consistent volume. So as you can see, it was still a tiny bit flat, but we got there with the use of the fine tuner. Let's keep going. I'm gonna do D next. So it's showing to be a C sharp, so half a step too low. Now we're at a low D. And now it's a bit too high. So you'll notice that once again, because it's hard to be precise with the peg, we have to go back and tune down with the fine tuner. That A is just a tiny bit flat for my ear, so I really want to pull it up. But if this is where you get, it should be fine. My G is all the way down to an E. Quite low, so it actually went out of tune again, and I'm out of room in my fine tuner, so I'm actually going to undo the fine tuner and then use the peg. All right, we are closer to our goal, and the E is now a D. So I'm going to once again go in, plot the string right before you turn the peg, so you can kind of hear that pitch change. Oh, so see what happened right now is my peg slipped. So the E is completely loose, so I have to kind of start over. So I'm going to push the peg in further. Okay, that sounds pretty close. Going to go ahead and check with the bow. All right, that sounds pretty good. Things to watch out for is, like I said, not having too many strings too loose all at once, because what can happen is that your bridge can lose the tension and collapse on you, which in turn may cause the sound post inside the violin to collapse, in which case you're going to have to bring your violin to a shop to get the sound post replaced. Or rather reinstated inside the violin, and to have someone put the bridge back up in the right spot. I will say, if you're scared to do this, find a local music shop and take your violin there and see if they can tune it for you. Make sure that the pegs are not slipping. If the violin is really out of tune and someone tunes it properly, that the tuning will hopefully hold. If you don't have the fine tuners, I will recommend getting them, just because I think your life will be a lot easier if you have the fine tuners. A thing to consider is if you have, let's say, a violin from your great-great-grandfather that was found in the attic, and it has an old tailpiece that just has like little holes where the strings go, where you can install the fine tuners. I would say don't put the fine tuners on that tailpiece, because it will actually affect the sound of the violin potentially. So the best sound preserving tailpiece looks like this, and as you see, it has the fine tuners built into it. I will link the tailpiece down below. I actually don't remember what the name of it is, but I'm either going to put it on the screen or just put it in the link down below. It's not a difficult install at all. But ultimately, if you have the fine tuners, if you have someone tune the violin very well for you once, and make sure the pegs are not loose and the strings are in good condition, so hopefully fairly new strings, you should be okay, unless you drop the violin or the humidity and temperature drastically changes in the space where your violin is stored. Make sure that you do not leave your violin in your car. Please don't leave it in the car. I have a personal horror story that I can share at a different time. But if it's really cold outside, that's not good for the instrument. And if it's really hot outside, it's very bad for the instrument because the varnish on the wood can actually melt from high temperatures. So you just don't want to do that. I have a few more links for you down in the description box below. It is a free 15-minute Get Better at Violin guide, as well as the wait list for my online violin course that I'm very excited to introduce to you guys. If you have any questions, let me know down below. Happy mindful practicing, and I'll see you next time.